Hey ladies, it's Tuesday!
Right, so that little clip was from when I took a 5 hour long walk through Milwaukee down by the lakefront. And it was last week actually that I recorded that because it is not that nice outside right now. It's all rainy and disgusting. Abby, you asked us on Monday why we thought history was important. And I have a little quote that kind of sums up how I feel about history. He who controls the present controls the past. He who controls the past controls the future. That is a quote by George Orwell, and as any fellow book nerd will know, he is the author of Animal Farm in 1984. And that brings me to what I'm going to talk about today books. My two favorite nonfiction books right now. Grand Strategy for America is probably my favorite because I ended up writing pretty much on every page. So I decided to keep it, not only because I love it, but because it has all of my thoughts and ideas when I was a naive little freshman. Private Life of Sharks, probably the most interesting nonfiction shark book you will ever read. I haven't actually read this book in a while. It's been a couple years, but I remember when I read it, I loved it, and it's like I still remember most of this book, so it's like I don't feel the need to read it again because I still remember all the information. But this is probably the one book that I would go to as my main source of information for anything that I do dealing with sharks. I've actually cited this book in several papers throughout high school and college, so that's why I love it so much. Moving on to fiction, Sum of All Fears by Tom Clancy, Wicked by Gregory Maguire, Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, I think, the entire collective works of Jane Austen, and Animal Farm in 1984 by George Orwell. I also have a bunch of books that I've read but I can't find because they're either at my parents' house or they are hiding somewhere in this apartment and I can't find them. Which brings me to my last thing that I'm going to talk about today, which is my book project. So I only have like a minute and a half to talk about my book project, which I don't feel is enough time, so I'm going to talk about it really fast. So basically what my book project is I'm going through to all of my old favorite books that have any significance in my life. Most of the ones that I just showed you are included in this, and I'm highlighting all of my favorite parts and why just so I can figure out why I like them. And I'm doing this because one of my little siblings asked me why Jane Eyre was one of my favorite books, and I didn't have an answer for her, and I felt really bad about that, so I really wanted to come up with a really good answer. So I decided that I was going to go through and highlight all of my books. I don't know where my copy of Jane Eyre is right now, which is really bad because I still have like 200 pages left in that book that I still need to highlight, but my green highlighter is already dead, so I don't know if that tells you anything, and it was brand new when I started the book. And Jane Eyre is not that long of a book. Anyways, this led me to the philosophy that maybe it's not history that defines us, maybe it's something else, maybe it's our favorite passages in books. And, I went through and I looked at a lot of what I highlighted in Jane Eyre, and I realized that the parts I highlighted are parts that, I've either experienced or want to experience or have just really thought, wow, that's really made me stop and think. But anyways, I am out of time. I will continue about my book project later. Marie, I will see you tomorrow. One last blurb, this Saturday, join the WWF and Earth Hour at 8:30 p.m. More info in the sidebar.